Greetings, adventurers! In this how-to video, we will be painting our spooky tree number 11 from our Corrupted Forest collection. After printing this piece, it's a very easy cleanup. You're going to look for any webs left by the 3D printer nozzle and remove the brim if you used one. This tree has some mushrooms and a small pool, so we're going to be painting and filling that in with resin in this video as well. Lastly, this tree is slotted for an LED and battery, so you might see a little glow inside the tree as we're painting it. We're going to be using the following paints: base wood, terracotta, and stone edge. We'll talk about the other colors for the pool and some stones a little bit later. We're going to start with base wood brown. Drop it into the paint and then wipe the brush off on a paper towel until it gets much drier. Now just dry brush over the tree so that the brush catches the high parts of the piece. It's okay to get paint on the mushrooms and on the inside of the pool. We'll fix that later. At this stage, the piece really does paint itself. Now let's move on to terracotta. This time let's get the brush much more drier. We don't completely want to cover the base wood brown. Instead, we're going to try to really focus on the high points of this piece. Now look at it. This piece really comes alive very quickly. So if you print it in black PLA and you use base wood plus the terracotta, for most of the trees you could stop here. It's that easy. For trees with mushrooms, nodules, bulbs, and tundrils, let's keep painting. Since this piece has mushrooms, we're going to go ahead and paint them with stone edge white. It's up to you to decide how detailed you want to go here. We're going to go ahead and hit the tops and some of the stalks of the mushrooms. And there you go. That's pretty easy. So let's go ahead and do the pool now. Starting off with deep water green, let's target the deepest center area of the pool. It's okay to get a little sloppy here, however you don't want to hit the tree itself or the neighboring mushrooms. Now let's go around the edges of the deep water green with shallow water green. It's okay if the shallow water green gets a little sloppy and spills into the deep water green. That's totally fine. But again, avoid hitting the tree and the mushrooms. Looking good. Now for the last stage of the pool, we're going to go ahead and target paint with moss green on the edges of the pool. We're going to be a little bit more detailed here, but if you mess up, that's okay. Perhaps a little pool of water in a forest might have some algae growing around it or some green. So on the side of this piece, you can see a large rock and some small ones. So you can paint this with either earthstone or cardboard. We're going to go ahead and use cardboard. Let's target paint the big rock and the little ones around it. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is grab cavern dry brush and a small brush. Look for a brush that's kind of small that you feel comfortable dry brushing. Dip the brush in the paint, use a paper towel to dry it off, and let's make sure the brush is pretty dry. Chances are when you're dry brushing the rocks, you might actually hit the tree. But if the brush is pretty dry, it won't be that big of a deal. Besides, it's terrain, right? What you can also do, since you have the cavern dry brush paint out, is dry brush the mushrooms to give them a variation in color. Okay, so this tree for the most part is done and ready for a corrupted forest adventure. And if you're going for an enchanted forest, then drop in some foliage on top of the branches. Okay, so that's the basics, and you're totally fine to stop right here, but we're going to take this a step further and add in some water effects. To do this, we're going to use a 2-part resin epoxy, which we have shown in another video. You don't have to use this specific one, but look for an epoxy that can be used to make bar table surfaces. Alright, so it's pretty easy to use. Just add equal amounts of volume into a container and mix together. I'm going to use the back of a paintbrush to guide the epoxy where I want it. If the epoxy spills out or overflows, it's not that big of a deal. It's going to look amazing, even if it got a little splashy. Okay, adventurers, that brings us to the end of this video. We hope you found it informative. Make sure to head over to our website to sign up for our newsletter and hit subscribe to be notified when we release new YouTube content. We wish you good fortune in the adventures to come.